All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, the city of Las Vegas has produced tremendous shows over the years. I've seen some of them, as have some of us overall, and they're pretty good shows. And we knew that the Super Bowl out there in Las Vegas this evening would be a good one. And simply what we got from Super Bowl number 58 was a thriller. For just the second time in the history of the Super Bowl, this contest went into overtime. It was the longest Super Bowl on record, one of the longest postseason games or games, period, rather, in National Football League history, as it nearly took 5 quarters to decide a winner. But when the smoke cleared, it was the Kansas City Chiefs being able to do something which has not been done in 20 years, which is to repeat as champions of the Super Bowl. Now, the San Francisco 49ers were game and they played good. But like I said the other day in my game preview for this one, playing good against the Chiefs in January and February is not good enough, because if you're going to beat them, you have to be great. Now, theoretically, it's a short flight back to the Bay Area from Vegas, but it's going to seem like a real long one for the Niners. As to me, in my opinion, this one hurts, or might hurt or should hurt more than the one 4 years ago when they lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You think about it today, so many missed opportunities for San Francisco. They looked like they were establishing things on the game's opening drive. Looked like they were going to get at least 3 points. And then, of course, Christian McCaffrey fumbled, and that was big. Another big moment for me, if you're San Francisco, you intercept Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes early on in the second half. You get the ball on the plus side of the field, but you don't have any points to show for it. In that third quarter overall, going away from your running game, because if you look at it in the first half of this contest, San Francisco established that running game with Christian McCaffrey. They went away from it, trying to go pass, and it kind of played into what the Chiefs wanted to do defensively, which was put pressure on Niners quarterback Brock Purdy. For me, also a very big moment for San Francisco on this one, and this is credit to Kansas City as well. That drive by San Francisco at the end of the fourth quarter, having to settle for 3 points as opposed to getting a touchdown. And the same thing can be said about their one possession in overtime. San Francisco possessed the football for nearly 7.5 minutes, but they had to settle for a field goal. Those are those key pivotal moments right there in a contest. And then as well, being 3 of 12 on our third down tonight if you're San Francisco. And then, of course, that huge missed extra point by Jake Moody when it was blocked. And all of those things came back to bite San Francisco in the derriere. On top of that, this Chiefs offense fumbled 5 times tonight, and San Francisco only was able to recover one of them. And if you look, and I know some people are going to jump on this and some people are going to say no, but now for Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers head coach, he's now blown 3 double-digit leads in the Super Bowl. Of course, the 25-point lead as the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons when they lost to the New England Patriots in Super Bowl number 51, and a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter in Super Bowl 54 against these Chiefs, and then a 10-point lead tonight once again. It's just one of those where so many things, like so many things were right there for the 49ers, and they just didn't capitalize, in my opinion. The Dre Greenlaw injury was big for San Francisco because it changed what they did defensively due to his ability to cover in his range. But we saw this Niners defense still apply pressure all night long. For the most part, on Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. They were called out by defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. We saw this team bring the pressure. And you think about it, you're talking about Randy Gregory. We're talking about Nick Bosa. We're also talking about Chase Young. We're talking about 3 first-round picks. And in the case of Bosa and Young, two guys that were taken top five. So they played like first round picks tonight. They put that pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They forced an interception. But it's just one of those, again, when you're playing a team like the Chiefs, you've got to go out there and you have to capitalize on your opportunities. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. Now, in defeat, Brock Purdy showed that the stage is not too big for him. Brock Purdy played well. He was 23 of 38 passing for 255 and a touchdown. But again, like I said, Purdy was unable to lead the 49ers to that key touchdown late in that contest. And, for Kansas City, it wasn't pretty at times. But you know what? I guarantee you, all of the teams around the National Football League would take an ugly loss over a pretty win any day of the week. It doesn't matter as long as you go out there and get your hand raised. And now the Chiefs officially have themselves a dynasty because they've won three championships in the last 5 years. They've made four Super Bowl appearances. And right now, they are the creme de la creme, so to speak, as far as what you want a championship team to be in the National Football League. You look at the Chiefs and they have transitioned because they have won totally different from what they were when they won that first Super Bowl a couple of years ago. You think about it, it was all about the speed, the air raid offense, if you will, coming to the National Football League. Now, you don't have that talent at the wide receiver position like you once did if you're Kansas City. But what are you doing? You're relying on your defense, which was prior to this. Kansas City's defense was more complementary to their offense, but now this defense is going out there and making plays. No team scored 30 points against Kansas City this season, and I think we saw throughout this contest why. Yes, they gave up yardage to San Francisco in the run game, but they put those clamps on this San Francisco offense in the red zone. They bought the pressure. Credit to defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo for that. And that's a big reason why Kansas City got to this game. And this is a big reason why Kansas City's once again Super Bowl champions. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes, he has another Super Bowl MVP that he's going to put on his mantle. But credit to this Chiefs defense for going out there and making those key plays. You think back to it, they were gassed defensively in the fourth quarter. They could not stop the run, but late, Kansas City made the stop to force San Francisco to go for a field goal to make it 19-16. And of course, that changes your outlook for the game if you're Kansas City, as far as trying to go down there and possibly win or tie the game, as opposed to needing a touchdown. And the same thing could be said in overtime. San Francisco got them the fourth down, but they just couldn't seal the deal. And I'll tell you like this: when you have a game as close as this one was, it comes down to your playmakers. And you look at it, Kansas City relied on that tried and true formula. You've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got Travis Kelsey, you've got Chris Jones. Those are their best players. And those guys stepped up and made the key plays in the second half and overtime when they needed to. Because San Francisco did a good job in the first half of taking Travis Kelsey away from Kansas City. But Andy Reid, like he's always done, he's gone out there, he's made adjustments. And what did he do? He got Travis Kelsey more involved in the ball game in the second half of this contest, and of course in the fourth quarter. Chris Jones, like he's done all season long, he made the big plays. And you go back and think to the preseason when Chris Jones held out, and of course he didn't play week number one when Kansas City lost at home to the Detroit Lions. And it's one of those where, you know what, he's the heart and soul of that defense. He's the best player. And of course, Patrick Mahomes. And you just think about it, just like it was last year, from 1 to 53, the Eagles had a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. And the same can be said from 1 to 53 for the San Francisco 49ers this year. But it comes down to those guys at those key positions. And I'm talking about quarterback and I'm talking about head coach. Just like that was an advantage for Kansas City last year over Philadelphia. It was once again today. And no disrespect to Brock Purdy because that young man went out there and played his tail off. I think he put a lot of doubt to bed about his ability. The fact that people want to call him a game manager. Brock Purdy went out there and played well. Okay. But like I said, playing well and playing great are two different things. And, like the old adage goes, it's a game of inches. San Francisco just didn't make enough key plays. And that's a big reason why Kansas City is once again Super Bowl champions. It's one of those, if you're the 49ers, what more can you do? Because they've been knocking on the door and knocking on the door for the last 5 years, and they just can't get through. And you think about everything that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have done to go out there and get this team to this moment. You make the trade for Trent Williams to shore up your offensive line. You go out there and make the trade for Christian McCaffrey. You go out there and make the trade for Chase Young. Uh, you know, Nobody thought that the 49ers would have what they got in Brock Purdy. I mean, when you draft the guy last, dead last in the NFL draft, nobody's thinking, you know what, this guy's going to be our franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. But that's what Brock Purdy has turned into for San Francisco. But nonetheless, you think about it, the drafting, what they've done, the trades, you name it, and it's just they just have been unable to get over that hump. And of course, everybody comes back next season a year older. Everybody in the NFC is going to gun for them, and of course, San Francisco is going to have to try to avoid the Super Bowl hangover that we saw with the Philadelphia Eagles this season. But it's just one of those things. Just so close yet so far. And if you're the 49ers, you just have to ask yourselves, what can you do to get over the hump? Everything is there for this team, but they just continue to find a way to come up short. You think about it, 4 of the last 5 years, San Francisco has at least gotten to the NFC Championship game, with the exception of last year's NFC Championship game when Brock Purdy was lost early on in that contest. It's basically all three of their playoff losses, they've come down to a play here or a play there. And the guys that they need to step up just have been unable to on offense. But on the flip side for Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, he now joins Tom Brady, Joe Montana, and Terry Bradshaw as the only quarterbacks to win 3 championships. And of course, all three of those men that I just mentioned, they also have something else in common. They all went back to back. But the sky is the limit for this young man, and I think he has the potential to take home some more Lombardi trophies as long as he keeps playing at this level, and as long as Andy Reid continues to coach, because Andy Reid is a cultivator of quarterbacks, if you will. You think about how many different quarterbacks that Andy Reid, got to the playoffs when he was a head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, of course, coming to Kansas City and first getting to the postseason with Alex Smith. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes being the best of the bunch, and, their marriage between football head coach and quarterback, it's epic right now. And it's one of those, the Chiefs were able to overcome a lot. We saw the frustration throughout this game, Travis Kelsey being frustrated with Andy Reid. And it wasn't pretty at times this season for Kansas City. But to their credit, like I said, coming into this game, they were able to lock in. They were able to dial in and be all in come the month of January. And of course, here in February for the Super Bowl. We saw the drops being a huge part of things for Kansas City during the regular season. That was not the case here in the playoffs. And to their credit, you know what? Basically, they just made Kadarius Tony a healthy scratch for the entire playoffs. It's one of those where sometimes, you don't trust the guy, but you know what? You still want to go out there and give him an opportunity. Kansas City basically said, you know what? You're not messing with our money. you stay in sweats. We're going to go out there and try to figure this one out. Grievance capitalist, excuse me, what's going on. And it truly was. It was a great game by both teams. It's one of those where both teams were really deserving to win. But of course, only one team will have the opportunity to take that Lombardi Trophy home. And of course, it's once again the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said, the 49ers played well enough to win, but playing well enough to win and winning against the Kansas City Chiefs this time of the year are two different things. It's one of those where, you know what, you get to the red zone, you got to score touchdowns. You can't settle for field goals. And of course, that was the case on those last two possessions for the 49ers. They had to settle for field goals. And of course, in doing so, they left the door open for Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of like, when you're going up against Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, you're up by a point or two and you got an opportunity to go down there and make some free throws late or make a shot late uh, to ice the game, and you don't do it. You can't leave the door open for those guys. You know what I'm saying? And we once again saw that tonight for San Francisco. They left the door open for Kansas City and Mahomes late, and of course, the rest is history. So now, if you're the Chiefs, you're going to go back and try to do something that no team has ever been able to do in Super Bowl history, which is win three consecutive championships. There's only been three teams that can say that they've made it to at least three Super Bowls. You got the Miami Dolphins from 72 to 74, pardon me, 71 to 73, excuse me. They lost in 71 to Dallas. They won in 72 and 73. You had the New England Patriots in 2016, 17, and 18 make three Super Bowls. They won in 2016 and 2018 and losing in 2017. And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills of the 1990s from 1990 to 1993, making four Super Bowls and going home without the trophy each time. The third time is always going to be tougher. You think about injuries, you think about guys leaving, but again, Kansas City has been able to weather the storm due to the fact that you still got Mahomes and you still got Andy Reid, and that combo together always gives you a puncher's chance. Kansas City had to do it without the pleasure of a first round bye this year. They had to go on the road two times in the postseason. But again, like I said, this defense stepped up big and made the plays when they needed to. You go think back to the Buffalo game. Kansas City's defense went out there and made those key plays late. Of course, Buffalo missed a field goal, which would have tied the game and sent it to overtime, but they missed opportunities to go out there and potentially win that contest. And then against Baltimore in the AFC Championship game, it looked like Zay Flowers was going to get into the end zone to tie the game. Would have been a huge momentum shift. But you know what? Kansas City forced a fumble at the 1 yard line, got the ball back, and the rest is history. The interceptions by Lamar Jackson, and again, making the big plays when they needed to tonight. So you look at it, and Kansas City, they're definitely going to have a shot. They want to try to run it back again. Like I said, easier said than done. But if there's a unit that is capable of doing it, it's these guys right here. For the folks in the Bay Area, once again, so close, yet so far. As you know, the late John Madden said, arguably the biggest gap in professional sports is winning and losing the Super Bowl. We saw the Eagles lose in heartbreaking fashion last year. They were unable to recover late this past season. And of course, now the San Francisco 49ers are in that boat. How will Kyle Shanahan and his group bounce back? We've got to wait and see. But nonetheless, with the 2024, the start of the 2024 season, roughly 7 months away. Clearly, we've got free agency, the combine, the draft, training camp, all of that stuff. But nonetheless, it's going to start just like this past season started. 31 teams trying to go out there and dethrone the Chiefs. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 pounds of sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'd be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.